Oh, well, Schmike, you mentioned something, or Rusty, one of you mentioned about like the level you're playing at, trying to level up. You know, one of the big, I'm going to call it a clog in the game
Oh,
is we don't have enough
that's a dad
TP,
joke. That's
right?
a dad joke, isn't it?
Hold, it's going to get better. Uh,
Oh
at
Lord.
this event, we had the son of a plumber, and he came in and unclogged the TP for
The
all
son
of
of a
us.
plumber, the dusty roads.
But it's
Oh,
about
son
to go
of
away,
something
I
else,
hear.
dude.
So, what do we think about the newest Scopely glitch and how it's
Okay.
being handled?
So we're shifting gears now. We're starting our MLC update. We're in the Feel the Heat MLC. Is that what it's called? Feel the Heat, turn up the heat, the hot heat, the
Yeah,
Thanksgiving November MLC. So we've got a few things to talk about. And Lee has gone right to TP Gate.
I
Um,
went right for the toilet.
well, okay. So yesterday in the game, I'm sure you're well aware, level 3 of normal mode of the Trial Dusty Tour, there were 500 bags of 500 TP launched as the reward for beating that node. And word quickly traveled, right? Somebody was saying they were on another content creator stream, and it went, basically said you need to play the game right now. Hey, check this out. Anyway, word travels fast as it does everywhere when something good happens. And so people were getting about 50,000, 40 to 50,000 TP per color. And everyone felt really, really good, right? It feels good to get things.
As
Um,
you do when your toilet's unclogged, you
it
feel better.
feels, when you get that sweet release, it feels really, really good, right? And yet, it feels really bad when things are taken from you. And for some reason, um, I don't know, and I'm not on the leadership forums, but rumors began to circulate. They're letting us keep it. They're just going to let us keep it. This is awesome. Kind of early afternoon, the word on the street, right, was that the word on Sesame Street was that Scopely's going to let us keep the TP. No big deal. It's fair to everyone. Um, and then towards the evening hours, the narrative was changing. Rumors of no, they've decided to take it back. And then there was an in-game message saying, yes, we are in fact going to take back the majority of that. And let me ask you, if you work for Scopely, if you lead a faction, if you're a developer, if you're one of these people, we've heard that some of y'all listen on occasion. Let me ask you that: what do you gain from taking it back? Like, help us understand what you gain, because the community deserves to understand the why behind your what. To receive something in the game makes the community feel really good. To be taken from on any level makes the community feel bad. This is basic humanity 101, right? It feels good to get, it feels bad to lose, right? And so I'm asking any representative, any person who can hear this and actually issue an authoritative response, just help us understand why. Because sometimes using the word fairness feels very unfair, or fair to some and unfair to others, especially when they play the game, they claim the reward and then begin to spend the reward as if it's theirs, because there's no indication that this was not intentional, right? Some people could have played that level and gone, wow, those are really nice rewards, or not even noticed the level of reward. And then as boss battle drew near, say, well, I better push up superstar for tonight's boss battle, right? So you give, makes the community feel good. You take, makes the community feel bad. You don't explain the why, and situational ethics seem to be a challenge often in this game. So here's my plea. I know this feels a little like a rant, but here's my plea. Once it's in the player's inventory, do not touch it. Just don't touch it. If something happens and you give, and even at the cost of remember, this is digital currency. This is digital currency. So it literally it costs you nothing to be digitally generous. And in a world now of NFTs where people can own proprietary things digitally, once it's in their inventory, they feel an ownership over it. And when you take it, reclaim it, recant the offer, it's as if you've taken from them, and it feels very personal and very emotional. And so, for the sake of fairness, once it's in a player's inventory, do not touch it. Because that was on you. That was your choice. That was your devs that did that. If they fat finger the key and add an extra zero, shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, we're going to keep playing this game. And the only thing it's going to do is make the community feel good and want to play it more. Back to you, Lee.
Rusty, could you tell me how you really feel? I felt like you were being very cautious with your words there.
For those of you on video, you could see my face got redder and redder and redder during that monologue. I was just like, I'm going to keep it PG, but holy cow, once it's in my inbox, do not touch it, because now you're taking from me. Now you're taking from me.
So I thought about this. In fact, we could talk about our strategies. I obviously heard the call and went, "Oh, okay, yeah, gotta go do that." But anytime something like this happens, I think of Scopely's track record, which unfortunately has been mixed. Some events, so like in fairness to all, we're putting this offer back up. Everybody can get it. Move on with life. Sometimes, and the one that came to mind most pressingly, that we still don't know if if you're in the future, you've already seen it happen, you can put in the comments section for us to know. But one of the events when something like this happened, they not only took back, they also reset every character that was upgraded during that time frame, and the people who spent tokens on those characters lost those tokens. They didn't reset them. So for example, I personally did not open the bags. I have 501 TP bags because I got another 500 bags somewhere else sitting in my inventory. I didn't touch them. If they need to reclaim those, life's good. I didn't gain anything. I didn't lose anything. However, if, in fairness to the community, the X-Pac that I took 6 silver during boss battle, the Snoop Hall of Fame that I took 6 bronze, the Honky Tonk Man that I took 5-star gold just to hit those requirements, if they were to say, in fairness to the community, we're resetting all of these, and I did it the right way, so to speak, in their eyes, and then I was punished, now I would be pretty salty because I don't have more tokens to take X-Pac up again. I would have to use the rewards that I get from maxing boss battle, which we did, it was great, to then reclaim rewards that I would have already had and used rightly. So I just don't know how they do this well. I know some people across the community have said, okay, the path forward is go spend all of your TP that you just got as quickly as possible. They can't take it back. Maybe. But what if they do like they did before and reset everyone, and then you've lost not only that TP, but also the levels? Now you're talking something that I can get heated about with you.
Catastrophic.
Because when
the results would be catastrophic.
Well, they've done it before and they survived. And that would be the logic is, hey, we've been down this path, people will survive. On the flip side of that, it does create an economy issue because for the player base to feel rewarded, there has to be a shortage. We've talked about this before, right? It was the Peter Petrelli principle from Heroes. Season 1, he had limitations and he was extremely interesting. By season 4, he was just whatever he needed to be, and you just didn't care if that character even existed. So the reason you care about TP is because you want to have enough of it, but you're not so flowing with it that you could just do whatever you want and you never even think about it again, right? In fact, on Merrick's stream about 6 months ago, one of the top players in the game was talking about how he was thinking about quitting the game for this very reason, because nothing was hard anymore. He was always going to get every single character that came out every weekend. He was going to get every single plate that came out because they often give him as the top faction reward. He was going to get every single reward that came out, period. And that is the normative expectation for that player. And now the game is not fun. There's no challenge. There's no whatever. So they would have an economy problem on their hands, but taking it all away is only one of the options on the table.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but let me respond by saying this. I think we've been operating under an inflation economy, if you will. I think the cost of living changed with the 6-star meta, and I think a good number of players has been left behind, especially like the player I mentioned earlier that's stuck at the 5-star gold mark.
Right.
He's really not advancing in the game. That player's going to have to decide, do I stick with it, or has the game passed me by and I just quit? So if the slots are too tight, if you will,
right.
You also run the risk of attrition and people saying, well, I'm not a whale, I don't spend, I like that, and I just can't play this game. This game only caters to the top people who have the top superstars. And so because I don't have 50,000 TP to bring up my female roster, if you will, then I better just check out. So like, I'm not sure they're calculating. Like it's almost like they need one of those risk management people called that they do calculations. There's a name for
actuary.
those. Yeah, they need an actuary to say, if you do this, okay, you might upset some, but here's the projected rate of like that we think is going to be actually attrition from the game. You're going to lose X percentage of players, because if you were a free to play player, you literally could have just joined the next tier of the game. If you're already at S tier roster, if you're already at A tier roster, if you're already at top 100 competitive roster, okay, that might not have mattered. It's a drop in the ocean. But if you're not, how many players did we just lose from joining the ranks of those factions? How many players now have the lid placed back on them? That's my thought, right? At the end of the day, I'm not going to cry losing the TP because I have a surplus, but I am worried. What if they get the calculation wrong and they take too much from me?
More,
because that number. What if it's not divisible by 6? And what if I really need black TP or purple? And what if they take way too much of that and leave me with a surplus of a color I don't need, like red? And then what? How are they going to do this accurately?
Right. Yeah. And considering the fact that it was a screw up that caused this, how do we prepare ourselves if the screw up goes the other way? And you're right, because they did say, in fairness, they did say they're going to leave everyone with 25,000 TP. So 4,000 or 5,000 TP of each color, roughly. And maybe the way that they're doing that is so that if you did burn through a ton, what's the likelihood that most of the community burned through over 25,000 TP? I would say it's probably small. There's probably a number of people out there with piracy in their blood, like our roots, and they just blew it all as quick as they could to keep
the players that had nothing to lose spin it all.
Right.
The players that have small rosters absolutely spin it all. Because what are they going to do? Are they going to get a deficit of TP? Are they going to have to rebuild 50,000 red to start over at 0 red? How would they charge the anyway? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm getting worked up. I'll stop.
No, you're good, but this is a good living example of how something like this, you when you're just in front of a screen and it's just ones and zeros, and you said fat fingered the one and you fat fingered the other way, it's like, oh well, whatever. We just moved a decimal point. But this is the way it actually has human impact on the player. And you're right, we need to be building goodwill. So is keeping 25,000 TP, is that good enough, Will? It's at least something, right? We don't know what they were originally trying to do. Instead of 500 bags, was it 50 bags? They said it was a 1,600% increase over what they were originally trying to do. So that's what, 16 times what they
Who
were supposed
cares?
to. So
Who
yeah,
cares? Like, that's the thing, is like, okay, if I am running a business, right? And I put out free donuts, right, for my customers. And I tell my employee, listen, as long as customers keep coming in, just keep giving them free donuts, right? And then a line forms out the door, and everyone wants a free donut. And I've already advertised free donuts, right? And there's all these people are coming, and suddenly I didn't forecast, right? This is unforeseen. But this is how capitalism works. This is how ethical businesses take it on the chin, at a loss to themselves, to maintain a positive reputation with their customer base. And so if it costs me $5,000 of free donuts that I never intended to give away, but suddenly hundreds and hundreds of people know about my business and are excited about my business, I have to chalk it up and say, you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it, because it's community relations. It's positive. It's a tax write-off, or write that thing off, Scopely, right? Or do something. It's crazy to me. You'd want people to feel good about your product, rather than like listen to the voice of a few that say they don't deserve it, they didn't earn it, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. And
it's crazy.
that's class warfare. That's pitting socioeconomic groups against one another.
So here's a solution. Last week we spun off a segment where we fixed Dodge for Scopely. Let me spin this one off to say, hey, we fixed this problem for you. Here's my solution, right? Okay, you don't take away the TP. The problem that creates, right, is there's an economy issue. Everybody has too much TP. They're either going to have to raise the TP events, right? Instead of being whatever it is right now, they're going to have to triple, quadruple, quintuple that event. So here's what you do instead. You create a we screwed up event where if you spend TP, you get some reward. And it doesn't have to be an insane amount of reward, but now you've got a lot of TP. Let's create a conversion program. So let's say like the all heart plate, or something that's older but is still
Right.
super rare, and
Sheet plate.
everybody would
Everybody wants
benefit
a
to
sheet
having
plate.
it.
All
Sheet plate,
heart,
yeah, put a
sheet,
couple
any of
of them.
those. Yeah.
And all you do is you spin TP, right? You don't even have to spin it like on your characters, right? You don't even invest it so that moves your roster. You actually trade that TP into this conversion program, and then at a certain point, the top reward is basically all of the bonus TP that you weren't supposed to get, and you get a sheet plate, or you get an all heart plate. You get something that
Or
one item or
straps,
two items
medals,
that
any of those things.
disproportionately have value. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and then
Straps
you
and
didn't punish the
medals.
player.
Right. You know what I would love? Here's what I would love if we're talking about fixing the problem. For every 10,000 TP you turn back in, you get 10 plate coins to where you can move a plate from one belt to another. Because that seems to be the most frustrating, short-sighted implementation in the game. So it's like, hey, turn back in the TP. Yeah. Turn back in the TP, and we'll let you move your plates around, guys. Like, people would race to do that. They would race to do it.
Absolutely. Well, we went a little long in the tooth on that, but that's an important topic, and it's something that's hitting. And we've talked Scopely screw ups before, but sometimes their response is super generous and just right on point. Other times it's in the middle, and we could all go, I wish they'd have done it differently. And sometimes sometimes
They
it
nerf your
makes Rusty's
rocker
face
Sean.
red.
Sometimes they nerf your Nakamura and say, sucks to be you, pal.